Dear learners, welcome you all to this module on open learning as a resilient approach in post-pandemic situation, which is module 4 of week 12 of the online course on Introduction to Distance and Digital Education. The objective of this module are to identify the relevance of open learning in the 21st century and to discuss how open learning as a resilient means or approach for providing undisrupted learning to the learners in the post-COVID pandemic situation. In India, due to the lockdown, as you know, the situation was growing gradually uncontrollable and lakh of people have been suffered from this virus, and also thousands of people lost their lives, lost jobs, etc. due to this pandemic. Eventually, the consequences of the crisis also reflect upon education, health, both the physical and mental health, nutrition and other social sector. The issue of migrant workers who lost their job due to the sudden shutdown of the companies in different places has become a prominent issue for any other states in India. However, the government is trying its best in providing the maximum funding for promoting the micro, small and medium enterprises industries in India or any other places of the country, so that the locally available resources could be utilized and providing the scope to the people for developing their productivity levels as well as getting their required livelihood, mainly in the post-COVID-19 situation. Apart from the economic situation, it has also affected the educational sector too, as about 90% students could not attend their educational institutions due to the closure of schools and universities due to the COVID-19 all over the world, as the report found from the UNESCO and UNICEF 2020. This situation has forced all types and levels of educational institutions to operate at a distance and put certain emergent online teaching practices into place to mitigate the crisis. But the fact is that the sudden closure of the educational institution has further widened the learning inequalities, following which the vulnerable children and the youths are hard hit. In a developing country like India too, such problems are being perceived and efforts are being made to immediately sustain the education systems. Therefore, as a disaster management drive, and a response to the global educational crisis, online teaching has been put into practice without a proper definition, planning, and goal. The fact is that the online education involves more than simply uploading educational contents through various platforms. Rather, it is a learning process that provides learners autonomy, flexibility, and choice. As a complex process, online learning requires systematic planning, designing, and careful formulations of the aims and objectives of the education to create an effective learning ecosystem. Though we are currently engaged in some kind of online activities, in essence, this is rather a temporary solution or not online learning per se, which should involve all the four quadrants of learning. That is as you know, we have already discussed in our previous unit what are the four quadrants. It is the e-content, the video part, the assessment part, that is the MCQ, short questions like that, and the last one is the web links or OERs. As opined by the experts of the online education, such as distinction is going to play a significant role in the development and the prosperity of online education in a post-COVID world. However, it is the fact that due to the COVID-19, more than 1 million of people are coming back to their home place and is an opportunity in front of the government to utilize this young manpower into a productive form for the benefits of the nation or the state. Besides, in terms of industrial development as well as the growth of economy in the states, we may think of some of the pertinent issues like providing skill-based education, offering compulsory need-based vocational education from higher secondary level, how to link or facilitate the industrial and academia relationship before offering a course to the stakeholders, recognize and issuing the certificates from the authorized institutions by offering the re-enrolling facilities to the learners so that the prior learning could be recognized in justified and productive way. Besides, the entire education system should be formulated so that to some extent flexibility can be provided to the learners for developing their need-based required skills in the present-day context without compromising the quality. By using online or ICT-based technology properly, the knowledge movement can be initiated in order to mitigate the crisis situation like COVID-19. Open educational resources, that is known as OERs, and MOOC, that is the massive open online courses, technology-enabled learning, etc., provides the plenty of opportunities for training and retraining as well as skilling and or reskilling the capabilities of the people into a great extent. Even people may access these platforms for their knowledge construction at their home place or pace. The Global Education Monitoring Report in 2020 also provided an in-depth analysis of the key factors for exclusion of learners in the education system worldwide, including background, identify and ability, that is the gender, age, location, poverty, disability, ethnicity, indigeneity, language, religion, migration or displacement status, sexual orientation or gender identity expression, inculcation, beliefs and attitudes. It identifies an exacerbation of exclusion during the COVID-19 pandemic and estimates that about 40% of low and lower middle income countries have not supported the disadvantaged learners during a temporary school shutdown. That is why the report urged that the countries to focus on those left behind as schools reopen so as to foster more resilient and equal societies. Even when the first and second phases of the pandemic-induced lockdown hindered the development of the socio-economic and educational sector across the world, UNESCO revealed that 40% of the poorest countries failed to support its learner at risk during COVID-19 crisis and urged their inclusion in education. About 10% of the countries implemented laws for ensuring full inclusion of education for all. But the acceptability of online learning or blended learning, or also known as open learning, by the teachers and the learners in a country like India has always to be addressed with a purpose. At a time when the teachers and the learners of the ODL institutions embrace online and blended education with open arms, what the conventional universities were doing or thinking in this regard needs to be carefully researched. While several of the face-to-face teachers and educators today are facing the fear of job loss, the role of the teachers as facilitators of learning is also creating new hopes. Thus, the capacity building of the teachers for freeing them from the technology phobia as well as equipping them with the skills of designing and offering blended forms of learning must be seen as a preparedness drive in post-COVID-19 situation. It is therefore important to explore issues like acceptability of online and blended learning in both conventional and distance learning institutions, experiences with online learning in rural and urban areas, variation between colleges and universities in the use of technology, etc., so that the need-based policies could be adopted for the benefit of the society as a whole in the coming days. In recent times, online education play a catalytic role by offering the most resilient means of education in post-pandemic situation in a country like India, despite the most obvious challenges including the digital divide or inequalities. However, acceptance of technology by both the teachers and the learners, use of social media for teaching learning purposes, issues of mental health of both learners and their parents are some of those problems that we'll have to address with openness. So now we are going to focus on how open learning as a resilient approach can be determined or can be dreamed as a resilient approach, open learning as a resilient approach. The role and the scope of online learning as a resilient approach or means in education has been widely discussed and debated in most recent times, particularly following the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic. Flex in 1988 defined resilience as the psychological and biological strengths that humans use to master sense successfully. Similarly, Mustaine in 2014 defined resilience as a capacity of a dynamic system to adapt successfully to disturbances that threaten the viability, functioning, or the development of that system. While the resilience was viewed as a process to harness resources to sustain well-being, it was also considered to be the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or even significant sources of stress. That is, sources of stress that was defined by the American Psychological Association in 2014. According to Henderson and Milstein in 1996, resilience refers to the ability to recover from negative life experiences and become stronger while overcoming them. Hence, one can assume that resilience is a capacity to cope up with a crisis situation, to withstand or to recover quickly from difficulties caused by a crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic and the consequent lockdown further intensified the existing challenges in imparting education. But the same also paved the way for new opportunities for rethinking how certain systems could be planned, designed, and delivered. The pandemic ramped up online learning worldwide with a view to offering teaching learning activities relatively uninterruptedly. Subsequently, different online learning systems to engage the learners were effectively used by the educational institutions in different parts of the world for the benefit of the learners. As Commonwealth of Learning in 2021, too has pointed out, ensuring equity and quality in digital and online learning will not only make the educational institutions more resilient, but will also move everyone closer to meeting the needs of the learners in the digital age. However, to mitigate the challenges of using technology, psychological mindsets and hurdles towards acceptability of online and blended learning for the teaching learning purposes, etc., shall also require addressing the need for proper theoretical framework for engaging the online learners, identifying their learning needs and characteristics, and adopting suitable pedagogic strategies for engaging them in the online or remote learning environment. So, online learning, it may be as a resilient approach. So, coming to the experience of online learning, particularly in the South and Southeast Asian countries, Boyker in 2021 stated that these countries have well-placed open higher education system as the population trends imply for younger, more mobile and increasingly better educated generations compared to the past generations. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations, that is the ASEAN countries, are quickly becoming the fourth largest economy. Bandalaria, that is in 2018, also stated that as the population across Asia continued to increase and expand, there is a greater demand for higher education and for infrastructural development to support higher education. Amid such existing issues and challenges, the outbreak of the pandemic sent in various shock waves in the world academia, forcing it to try out new and resilient means of education when the educational institutions had to be shut down to avoid further infection of the people. Thus, in the field of higher education, the concept of resilience caught the attention of the scholars, including Boskert in 2022 and Ross et al. To understand how higher education was actually coping up with the COVID-19 pandemic with the help of online and digital support services. Ares Boskert in 2022 even argued that in the new normal, the core theme in understanding higher education during crisis were resilience, adaptability, and sustainability. In the era of digital transformation, higher education is undergoing significant shift whether by choice or circumstances. These changes, disrupted by nature, challenge the established norms and compel educational institutions to adapt to new paradigm. In this dynamic landscape, institutions can either proactively embrace a sense or risk being overtaken by it. Those resistant to innovation do so at their own peril as their peers evolve to meet evolving demands. This trend of continual disruption poses unfamiliar challenges as organizations once deemed stable are constantly reshaped by the transient nature of digital age. The scenario mirrors past experiences of organizations such as the print-based news industries reluctant to acknowledge digital advancement, leading to their decline. It undergoes the imperative for higher education to move beyond relying solely on tradition and legacy. Every institution must strategically navigate the spectrum between the traditional and the remote instruction, adopting infrastructure as needed. What are the critical challenges in distance educational leadership? If we look at the challenges, the critical challenges in distance education leadership, in the realm of online education, leaders face formidable challenges in ensuring its relevance and efficacy. One overarching challenge is impermanence, a fundamental aspect of existence according to Buddhist philosophy. Instead of resisting change, educators must embrace it as an opportunity for growth. Within this context, online educators grapple with various complex challenges ranging from technological advancements to pedagogical shifts. The following are some of the important points that should be taken care of while developing online learning as a resilient means to mitigate the crisis, like managing change effectively. Rather than focusing solely on technology, educators must prioritize managing change, recognizing it as a demanding aspect of their role. Redefining the instructor's role. The rise of self-directed learning necessitates re-evaluation of the instructor's role, balancing the traditional teaching methods with evolving learner dynamics. Balancing innovation and disruption. Implementing innovative technologies require navigation, potential disruption, and emphasizing the importance of strategic decision-making and adaptation. Addressing the digital divide. Bridging the gap between technological access in different regions is crucial for ensuring equitable education opportunities worldwide. Thus, the educational leadership is a prominent factor for ensuring an eco-friendly, sustainable education system to all. In order to meet the challenges of open learning, the distance education leaders must require a diverse set of skills that include accurate diagnosis and strategic planning. Leaders must accurately assess situation and devise appropriate strategies to drive change effectively. Transformative leadership. Creating conditions for innovations demands transformative leadership, fostering a culture of continuous growth and adaptation. Resilience and perspectives. Leaders must maintain resilience and perspectives, understanding that change often occurs incrementally and requires patience. Commitment to mentorship. Experienced professionals have a responsibility to mentor the next generation of distance education leaders, fostering growth and development in the field. In short, addressing the complexities of distance education leadership requires a multifaceted approach, integrating effective leadership practice with a deep understanding of technological and pedagogical shift. By embracing change and fostering innovation, educators can navigate the challenges of the digital age and shape the future of distance education. How you look at open learning as a resilient approach? Open learning is indeed a resilient approach to education and the skill development. It embraces flexibility, adaptability, and accessibility, making it well suited for navigating uncertainties and challenges. Why open learning is considered resilient? Because of many things. First, the nature of the flexibility. Open learning allows learners to choose when, where, and how they engage with educational materials. This flexibility is crucial during time of disruption such as natural disaster or pandemics, as it enables learners to continue their studies regardless of physical location or time constraints. Second, the beautification of open learning is the adaptability. Open learning platforms and resources can be quickly updated and modified to meet changing needs and circumstances. Whether it's integrating new technology, incorporating feedback from learners, or addressing emerging topics, open learning environments are inherently adaptable. The nature of accessibility. Open learning promotes accessibility by removing barriers to education. It often offers free or low-cost access to educational materials, reducing financial constraints. Additionally, it accommodates diverse learning styles, preferences, and abilities, ensuring that a wide range of learners can participate and succeed. Collaboration. Open learning fosters collaboration among learners, educators, and communities. Through online forums, discussion groups, or the discussion forums, group and collaborative projects, learners can engage with peers and experts from around the world, enriching their learning experience and building a supportive network. Resilient infrastructure. Open learning platform leverages digital technologies and cloud-based infrastructure, which are inherently resilient to disruptions such as physical infrastructure damage or transportation limitations. This ensures continuity of learning even in challenging circumstances. Lifelong learning. Open learning encourages a culture of lifelong learning. As we have discussed this issue of lifelong learning in detail in our previous module, where individuals continuously acquire new knowledge and skills throughout their lives. This mindset prepares learners to adapt to evolving circumstances, embrace change, and thrive in an increasingly dynamic world. Overall, open learning embodies resilience by empowering individuals to pursue education and the skill development in ways that are flexible, adaptable, accessible, and collaborative. By embracing these principles, learners can overcome challenges and thrive in the face of uncertainty. So, what are the suggestions for making open learning as more resilient? For meeting the challenges and problems, for reducing the barriers in accessing higher education, for enhancing the prospects of open learning, or for making education truly resilient, there is some point you can consider use the most affordable and accessible technology. The numbers of higher educational providers and learning options have increased rapidly in recent years with the emergence of flexible learning technologies. The main challenge, however, is to find economical ways to encourage and enable effective learning at distance and at the student's own pace. The challenge, however, cannot be met by computer technology alone, rather by integrating this technology within flexible learning approaches based on the universal learning processes, and the teaching learning approaches is expected to encourage deep learning. Redefining the meaning of flexibility. Flexible, open, and online education could be designed as an emancipatory discourse and not just as a penance for the affected learners. So, the flexibility should be redefined. Use of hybrid learning models as an alternative. It was evident that since the onset of COVID-19 pandemic, the majority of the institutions have been supporting hybrid teaching learning options for both on-campus and online education. Subsequently, the blended learning emerged as the most suitable model of learning. Adoption of community inquiry theoretical framework. And regarding this framework, we have discussed in detail about this framework in our previous module of the previous week. So please go through this model or framework in detail so that you can understand how online learning, design of online learning should be based on this theory, which is more learner friendly and very much effective. So the community inquiry theoretical framework is an effective form of learning, and it keeps the teaching learning environment cohesive and convenient. In this framework, the teaching, the emotional, social, and cognitive presence are considered while delivering the course content to the learners. In fact, these four components make the teaching learning delivery more collaborative and interactive. This framework will surely encourage close association between the teachers or mentors and the students or mentees even during online learning. Government actions to be taken for reducing the digital inequalities. Some of the recommendations include adoption of appropriate policies to ensure equitable access to digital learning, mandating a quality assurance agency or body to focus on equity in digital learning provision, investing in broadband access as a critical infrastructure or basic infrastructure for mitigating the digital divide in education, collecting disaggregated data on multiple variables such as age, gender, residence, etc. that allow the tracking of trends and gaps in access in digital technologies, supporting interdisciplinary research on digital inequalities, capacity building of teachers with regard to the use of digital technologies, providing support to the differently abled students through assistive technology, encouraging the development of new pedagogical approach for online learning and the alternative assessment tools and methods, etc. And such action could reduce digital inequalities to a marked extent. So, dear friends, I hope you have received an idea or an overall understanding regarding the open learning that includes both the distance and online learning. How it plays the role as a resilient for any crisis situation. How, with the help of open learning, undisrupted learning can be provided to the learners at any time, any place, and anywhere. So, as you know, this module is the last module of this course. Please go through all modules in this 12-week course. So, keep learning regularly and enjoy your learning career with dedication and try to become a lifelong learner in a true sense. So, see you again and all the best. Thank you.